Welcome as we continue on with our series 2017 Marriage Refreshers. My name is Antoine Lee, and I said I would be giving us some tips to refresh our marriage in 2017. So far, we've looked at two. It's kind of an overview, and you can go back and look at those other, what do we call them? Productions? Cast, whatever you want to call them. But you can get a chance to look at them and review them. We talked about, and an overall, one of the most important concepts is to make sure that we're giving our spouse the attention they need when they make what we call bids for our attention. But we looked at number one, something called gentle startup. The idea is that the way we start a conversation will determine what we get back in return, and that can be said in the first few minutes, especially if we have something to say to our spouse that is not a little more on the conflict side, a little more on the touchy side, on whatever the topic. But you can listen to that one before. The second tip I want to give you, this is good. This is a really, really good one in terms of a marriage refresher. It's as simple as this: take responsibility. Say, what do you mean by that? When your spouse comes to you with something that is a complaint of some kind, even if 99.9% of it is off, but that 0.1% is true, take responsibility for that 0.1%. In other words, rather than try and justify the things that you know, weren't true, or how could you say that, go for that part that you know is true. Take responsibility. What does that look like? I'll use a simple, very, very, very classic one. If your spouse is late a lot, running late, makes you late, whatever you want to call it, and you challenge that spouse about their lateness, what you want them to do is take responsibility for that lateness. Say, on the other hand, your spouse challenges you, complains a little bit. Man, you're always late. And you know for a fact you've been on time out of the past 3 weeks for every event you've been at, except maybe this once. Take responsibility for the once. Humbly apologize. Man, I'm so sorry. I just lost track of time. I'll do better next time. Can you forgive me for that? I'm sorry. But don't go to the fact of the other 3, 4, 5 weeks that you may have felt like you've never been late. Or, worst of all, point out the fact that they've been late a lot of times. You want to take every step or event at a time, rather than going, for your good in the past, your bad in the past. Let's just deal with what happened then. So if you can take responsibility when your spouse comes to you with something that they don't necessarily like, or they want to improve, take responsibility for what you can. Sometimes it'll be a bit of a challenge to kind of take responsibility. You may feel like, well, it's all them. One thing I can tell you that is the truth. Very, 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 very rarely is something all them. There's truth in most things that our spouses can tell us. We've got to learn to grab onto it. What that immediately does, especially if somebody's coming after you, and those times when our wives or our husbands come after us, it immediately is like pouring cool water on a fire, because they see that you've heard them, they see that you're going to respond to them, and they see that that particular issue is dealt with. And as for you husbands and for you wives who kind of feel like your spouse just keeps going on and repetitive, and they're always yapping and yapping, maybe part of the problem is you're not listening. Maybe part of the problem is you don't take responsibility, and so they're trying to hammer the point home repeatedly. In other words, you become defensive. So try it. The minute you hear any complaint from your spouse, try and find that little nugget of truth that you did do legitimately. Apologize for it and see how that affects. Now again, don't look for one time everything's wonderful. Go for, let me do this as a habit. Habits of being that improve our relationship. So instead of defensiveness, which is that point where we fight for our rights and what's true, take responsibility for what you can and see what that does in your relationship. This is Antoine Lee. Really hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and thanks for listening.
Took a bad